Hello, friends online. I want to have a talk about a cool concept that, well, not cool, but a concept that I think needs to be shared. But then I want to put a trigger warning because it is going to touch on sensitive topics like domestic violence. So if you can't handle those kind of talks right now, please don't watch this video. um, so I want to talk about the harmful stereotype of the perfect victim. And I touched on this in a internet gossip related rant. But I really just wanted to make a whole separate video about how damaging that is, that the perfect victim stereotype, that you never defend yourself, you never say or do anything mean or wrong, you are just purely victim all the time. And I want you to know that that doesn't fucking exist. When someone is saying that, they're lying. There is no perfect victim. Because all real victims are just real people, and we all make mistakes, and we're all messy sometimes, especially when we're being abused. And so when we are trying to, as like third parties, determine where or what kind of abuse has happened amongst two individuals, it's really difficult. That's why you get he said, she said dynamics a lot, and like a lot of times people will just lie, about abuse. That's like in the nature of like psychological abuse, at least, is to like deny that it happened. And so that drives someone crazy. Just so you know, to be abused and then told you're not being abused. And when you're crazy and desperate for sanity, I talked about this too in a lot of my videos. Desperation really makes people do crazy things, and we have something called reactive abuse. And sometimes people who are being psychologically and verbally and physically abused, like, they will react in sometimes hateful and violent ways. And it's a desperate attempt to reclaim sanity is what it is. It's in this reactive abuse. And so it makes it really gray waters, I feel like, for outside parties to see what's happening. And so I think whenever you are an external party, what helps is to look at the individual's patterns of behavior, because when you when you look at just one-off instances of people's behavior, it doesn't really tell you a lot. Like, you can see some things, but it does not give you a clear indication of the complexity of nuanced situations of the individual's identity that are also occurring in this situation over periods of time, because identity is developed, right? And so who we become is the most consistent patterns in our life, right? And so this is just how identity is shaped, and identity is so much at play in dynamics of abuse, I think. And that's why so many abuse cases are so like individual, yet a lot of abusers will follow the same patterns, in my unclinical experience. And so this really damaging idea that if someone is a victim, they have to have never done anything wrong or fought back or anything is just wrong. Because that's just not how real victimhood is. And when someone is being victimized, sure, sometimes there is the freeze or the fawn or flight or fight. That's why we have all these instincts. Like, there's such a variety of ways that we can respond, and it's not only going to be based on identity, nature, but the nurture aspect of our psychology as well, because I believe they not only are separate, but kind of superimposed in a way, working symbiotically with one another at the same time, our nature in our nurture, and so it's just, there's no perfect victim. There is no real thing where someone is purely the victim all the time in every single social situation they're ever in. That's just not how it works, That's someone lying, and that's probably an abuser, honestly. I'm just gonna throw that out there. Someone that is always somehow being victimized by strangers or friends or family, like that is someone who is picking the fights, you know. They want to be the center of attention in my experience, you know. And so that's just, they perpetuate the lie of the perfect victim, though, because a lot of times I feel like they'll be charismatic and really good at selling the story. That's just like an archetype of fucked up humans that now exist. That's great. Thanks, guys. Thanks, evolution. That's what we wanted. I would have loved X-ray vision, but whatever. Anyways, there's no perfect victim. And being someone too who has gone through and been victimized by and then survived like domestic violence, it is when you get to the point of like becoming physically victimized, in my experience, you've already been broken down psychologically to believe that you deserve this kind of treatment. And so that happens over a long span of time, I believe. Maybe not long. Sometimes, you know, when they love bomb you and, you know, you're in the honeymoon phase, like things can move quick. And that's always a red flag. Like, you don't just, I don't know. I guess I have heard of, I do know a couple that they met in kindergarten and they're still married to this day and they're like old. But, that's like in the standard deviation curve. That's like over at the very end. But majority of the time, you don't just meet someone, fall in love on the first day, and then get married and everything is hunky dory. Like, you don't know people for quite a while, in my experience. Even a year of consistently like meeting up with someone weekly, it takes a while to get to know, you know, and it's just, anyways. Oh, my cat just jumped off the cat tower. All right, well, I'm gonna head off because I'm tangenting. So, yeah, there's no perfect victim, and we need to stop perpetuating the stereotype that victim is separate from just like a person going through abusive situations. Like, I don't know. There's a lot of negative connotations, I feel like, in society to the term victim. Both legal and, I don't know, socially. But yeah, we're all human and we're all gonna do things that, like, may not appear from the outside to be reasonable in some contexts. Like, if you're being abused, reactive abuse is a thing that can occur, and a lot of times when someone engages in reactive abuse, that will be what makes them stay with the abusive person, because they're like, look, now we're the same. Like, no one else will want me or love me because we're both terrible. And you're just, they make you become someone that you don't even recognize. And it's like almost like a form of brainwashing. They like want someone to engage in like daily combat. Like, I don't know. Anyways, again, rambling, so I'm gonna head off. But yeah, no perfect victim, and bye.